So, brother, go ahead with your question about biblical marriage.
Okay, so the situation is this: understanding that any woman, any so-called marriage that is not from the virginity. In other words, if a woman is married or a man takes a woman that he did not is virgin, it is considered an abomination. Now, a case scenario is this: what if a woman was raped? If a woman was raped and she lost her virginity from rape, and she goes on to marry somebody, is that marriage legal in the sight of the Most High? Now, a side question to that is, a lady that is raped and loses her virginity, but goes on to have sexual intercourse with other people before she finally says she's married. So let's say she had 3 or 4 boyfriends after the rape, but she now finds a man that she says she's married to. Can that man be her legal husband in the sight of the Most High because she was raped? Do we take away the other relationships she's had before she met this man? But let's also assume that she did not have these 3, 4 boyfriends, but after the rape, she finds somebody she loves and they get married. So, it's a two-pronged question there, in the sense that she was raped. What happens before she finds a man? Then another thing is, can if for those who are married now in the sight of the Christian churches and all that, and they've had sexual partners before they met each other, and now they have children, or the relationship is going good, they are at peace with each other, but because the man was not the first one to sleep with her, can they convert that relationship to where the woman becomes a concubine, instead of giving her a certificate of divorce, or instead of walking away from the relationship? Because in the Bible, there are concubines. So maybe at this point, we can also look at who qualifies to be a concubine. So my question is like 3 in 1. That's it.
Okay. Brother, uh, wow, the way you presented these questions. So we are going to take it one after the other. Because I want to be very careful that we address every one of these questions. We will also come to the last question about concubine. Um, there is no concubine in the Bible, but we will deal with that. We'll come back to that. Um, you will see what I mean by that. There's no concubine in the Bible. So let's back up. So let's deal with the first scenario, and I will try to keep it all short because this question that you asked, if we if I don't if we don't do it properly in the next 2 hours, I might still be dealing with it. So what we're going to do is, since it's just different scenarios, that it could be this or it could be this, let's, if you can bring out the first part. So let's say, for example, uh a okay, so you have Mary, or you have let's say you have um Sarah. I'm giving you an example. And Sarah is a virgin. Sarah. Sarah is a virgin. And somebody rapes her. Someone rapes Sarah. Sarah goes to draw water. And a man followed her and overpowered her and dragged her inside the bush and raped her. So all of a sudden, now Sarah is no longer a virgin. Sarah is no longer a virgin because Sarah has been raped. Can you marry Sarah? Now, please listen carefully. to this answer. Very, very critical, very, very important. Sarah, a virgin, goes to draw some water. A man follows her and rapes her. Can you marry Sarah? Here is the only circumstances to which you can marry Sarah. If Sarah was raped, and after she was raped, Sarah no other man touched her. So it's been 6 months after Sarah was raped. No other man ever got on top of her. No other man ever had sex with her. Until you see Sarah. You see Sarah. So now you meet Sarah and you like Sarah. The problem is that Sarah has been raped. She's no longer a virgin. She was raped and her virginity was gone. But no other man ever touched her. No other man ever got on top of her. You can marry Sarah as soon as the man that raped her dies. Now, that's where it becomes a problem for the rapist. Because according to the law, that rapist is supposed to die. Unless if Sarah had agreed to it. Okay, let me start giving you scriptures. I don't want to just give you my opinion. Deuteronomy 22. Deuteronomy 22, the Most High talked about if a girl gets raped. If a girl is raped and there's nobody to help her and she's shouting, she's screaming, it was purely rape. She did not agree to it. Only the man should die. So in that case, you meet Sarah. Sarah was a righteous woman or righteous girl. She was purely raped. She did not agree to that sexual act, but the man overpowered her and raped her. Ever since that rape, she kept herself pure. Nobody ever touched her. You can marry her as soon as the man is dead. Now, it becomes a problem for that man, because if you really, really want to marry Sarah and you are a righteous man, you can go and talk to her family. Look, I want to marry your daughter, but I can't because she was raped by this man. If the case is investigated and it is true that he actually raped her, that man, if something happens to him and he dies, it's not going to be held against you, because he raped her, he took her virginity. So if the man dies, then you can marry her. In a case like this, there is hope. In a case like this, there is hope. If a girl is raped, if I know a girl who is raped and she lost her virginity as a result of that rape, I will encourage her to keep her legs closed. Don't ever have sex. Keep your legs closed, because you have hope. You have a chance. If that man that rapes you dies, a man can marry you. So the thing is that, if it's truly rape, somebody can take it up to their hand. I'm not saying it's right to do it, because there are protocols. There are ways you have to go about it before the person can be killed. The case have to go to the elders. They have to investigate it and see if it's true. Was it really a rape? Was there a witness, or they have to investigate and see if it's true, or if the person admits that they did the raping. There's a ways you can get information. There are ways you can get information. If I put my head into something like that and I want to dig into it, I will do whatever I can to get the person to tell the truth if they really raped the woman. So if Sarah keep her legs closed, Sarah has a very good chance of having a husband, because as soon as the man that raped her dies, she will have a husband. Now, you might be asking, how can the man die? The Most High can kill that man. Nobody is going to live in this world forever. The man can go out and die of a stray bullet, or a train will hit him, or a trailer will hit him, or something. Like the Most High killed Abigail's husband. 1 Samuel chapter 25. 1 Samuel 25. It was the Most High that killed Abigail's husband. So the point I'm making is that, if a girl keep her legs closed, she has a much, much better chance. But So yes, in that case, you can marry her if the man that raped her dies. Some people might take it into their hand to go and kill that man so that the woman will be free. To which I don't think that heaven is going to mourn that man. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying here. Listen, if a man rapes a girl and takes her virginity, and then another man goes and kills that man, I don't think that heaven is going to mourn and cry about that man because he's a rapist. As long as you have a clear evidence that he did the raping, that is why the Most High made it difficult to kill people. The Most High said there has to be 2 or 3 witnesses. You can't just go kill somebody just because you think that they did something. You can't just put away your wife just because you think that she committed adultery. You can't just do it. There has to be a witness, 2 or 3 witnesses. Biblically, it's very difficult to put somebody to death. You have to have a witness. You have to have a witness. So, if there is a pure witness that this man did rape this woman, or he admits it, he admitted that he did it, then as soon as he dies, the woman will be free. That's the only way you can marry that woman, even though she was raped. That's why the Messiah said, put him to death in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22. That man is supposed to be put to death so that somebody else can marry the girl and move on, because she's not going to be punished for being raped. The Messiah said, put the man to death right away. We don't do that anymore because we've abandoned the law. So in a normal circumstances, when a man rapes a woman, that man is supposed to die, and the girl can remarry the very next day. I have a husband. The punishment for rape is instant death. Put the damn man to death. We don't do that anymore. Okay. So that is the only way you can marry a woman like that. But let us look at reality. Let us look at what actually happens in the world today. The reality is that girls are raped. A girl, her name is Hannah, for example. Hannah is a righteous young woman, a virgin. Hannah is raped. Instead of Hannah keeping her legs crossed, after Hannah has been raped, Hannah will go on to have boyfriends. A boy that did not marry her will be having sex with her. 6 months later, they will break up. Hannah will find a new boyfriend. He will start having sex with her. 1 year later, they will break up. So finally, after about a year or 2 or 3, you now meet Hannah. Hannah will tell you that she was a virgin and she was raped as a virgin. Yeah, Hannah was a virgin and she was raped. The problem is that Hannah has been with multiple men. You cannot marry Hannah. Even though she was raped as a virgin, but she's now defiled because she's been with all these multiple men. You cannot marry Hannah. You can marry Hannah if Hannah was raped and Hannah kept her legs closed after that and never had any kind of sexual relationship with any man. You can marry her if the man that raped her dies, to which there are many, many ways that he can die because he's a rapist and the Messiah has a death sentence for that. So the thing is that the most common thing is that, yes, girls are being raped. That is true, even at a younger age. I saw a girl that was somebody. Man, I'm not even going to get into that. But girls are being raped. That's why we have to talk more, create more awareness, and teach the law more, so that the boys will know that you're not supposed to rape a girl, and that you could lose your life if you rape the wrong girl. Yeah, if you rape the wrong girl, you can lose your life. Boys need to understand that. It's like me right now. You come and rape my daughter or rape my sister. Yeah. Okay. So the thing is that the most common thing that happens is that you have a situation where a girl or a woman will tell you, yes, I was raped. I was a virgin and this man raped me. But the problem is that after she was raped, she also went on to be with multiple men sexually. That's the problem. Biblically, the Bible calls it defiled. She's been defiled. That's what Deuteronomy chapter 24 was talking about. Once a woman lays with another man, you cannot take her back. She's been defiled. So that is the beginning part of your question. That is the two scenario. I would like you to come back. Do you understand what I explained? And we could explore it a little bit more.
I I mean, I'm following you, but there is one scenario in that picture. The man that rapes her, say it was in a robbery. The man that rapes her cannot be found, and it was in the bush and he's disappeared and long gone, and nobody can find him. So nobody kills him, and she doesn't know if he's dead anywhere in the world. What does she do?
What does she do? Okay, that's an interesting scenario. Um, anything is, anything is possible. Anything can happen. So I'm not going to say that you cannot have a scenario like that.
No,
The
this
chance,
is actually a true life story. This is actually a real life story that I'm telling you.
okay. Yeah, I'm not going to deny it. Something like that could happen, that a young woman gets raped by someone that then disappears and you never see them again. Yeah, something like that can happen. But I also know that the Most High can also bring that person back. There's nothing that he cannot do. He can bring that person back, but I'm not going to get into that. Let me just stick to your scenario that you gave.
Okay.
Now, brother, do you know that biblically that a man is not supposed to marry a woman who is not a virgin or a widow? I am not trying to avoid your question, but rather I want to show you something, and then we'll come back to this your scenario right now. But I want to show you something that will help you to understand this scenario. Do you know that according to the Bible, biblically, and I'm going to give you those scriptures, do you know that according to the Bible, a man is not supposed to marry a woman who is not a virgin or a widow? The woman you marry must be a virgin, or if she's not a virgin, she has to be a widow, meaning that she is a virgin. A man, one man marries her, takes her virginity, and then that man dies, and she's never been with any other man. She's only been with that man that took her virginity, and then that man dies. She is now a widow. A woman like that you can marry. Other than that, did you know? Did you know that you, as a man, according to the scriptures, according to the Bible, a man is not supposed to marry a woman who is not a virgin or a widow? In other words, you are not supposed to marry a woman that has been with multiple men who are not their husband. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's see some place. Let's see. It's two places saying the same thing, but let's just see one. So the first place I would like to show you, because this will help us to understand the part about, let's say, if this girl was raped by armed robbers and they run away and we can't find them. We'll come back to that. Uh, so Matthew 5. I was going to say maybe I will pull it up here, but if you could just read it because it's not a lot. Matthew 5, 31 and 32. You can read it, or any other brother or sister can, or any other brother.
Matthew 5:31,
And
Matthew 31 and 32, right?
yes.
Okay. It says, it had been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a written document of divorce. But I say unto you that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causeth her to commit adultery, and whosoever shall marry her that is divorced committed adultery.
Okay, my brother and everybody else listening, my brothers and sisters, please, I would like you to pay attention to that last part. So it says, that whosoever marries her that is put away. This is two sentences in one verse. Two sentences in one verse. The last part is a different. It's a different. He's telling you that whoever marries her that is put away commits adultery. Can somebody please, anybody, can you explain to me what that means? If you know, you can guess. You don't have to know it. You can just guess what you think it's talking about. When it tells you that whoever marries her, this is Yeshua Christ talking. He said that whoever marries her that is put away commits adultery. Please, if you know what it means, please let me know. If you want, you can also guess. You don't have to get the right answer. You can just guess it.
Yes, my brother, what it's saying here is that whosoever marry her that is put away is talking about if a woman is already divorced and then another man lays with her. That is what it's talking about. When it says whosoever marry her that is put away, that's talking about a man that has sexual relation with a woman or lays with a woman that is already divorced.
Okay, so he said that whoever marries her that is put away commits adultery, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Who
Can
else?
I contribute?
Yes, brother, go ahead.
What the brother said is true to the surface, that a woman that has been divorced, like we already read the scripture earlier on, but deeper, when you look at put away, a woman in her virginity is a flower. When that flower has been defiled, has been put away, and somebody else comes to marry her, that person commits adultery. So in other words, practically any woman that has been sexually involved and you marry that woman, you commit adultery, not unless, according to the scripture, she's a widow. So put away, more or less, if I think deeper, is more or less like if she's ever been had sex, if she's anyone that has ever been sexed other than by yourself, then if you get involved with that woman, you're committing adultery. So practically, it's a no-go area, is what I'm deducing from this conversation.
Okay. All right, thank you. We will come
Brother,
back.
could
Yes,
I ask a question? Is there a difference between divorce and put away? What if a man never goes through the legal aspect, or he just leaves the family and goes out and leave the wife there, but he never actually divorces her? He comes back now and again to visit, but not really still in the relationship.
yeah.
Is there a
Divorce.
difference between
I
divorce
think.
and put away?
I think that your question is very. Your question is very timely. Very timely. You asked this question at the right time because we're looking at where it says whoever puts away his wife, right? Whoever puts away his wife and marries another commits adultery. Whoever marries her who is put away, whoever marries her who is put away commits adultery. So the question is, in some translations, it will say divorce. Okay, some translation it will say divorce. In some translations, but it's put away. So let me give you an example. By the way, if you still want to answer this question, the question is still on the table. What that verse is saying, because I'm not dealing with that verse yet. I'm still waiting to see if anybody has any answer to that question that I was asking. So, for example, Joseph, according to the Bible, Matthew chapter 1, verse 19, Joseph decided to put Mary away. So,
Yeah.
divorce is actually something new. The idea of divorce is a Western thing. The Bible doesn't talk about divorce. The Bible talk about putting away, putting your wife away. So, divorce is kind of like it's a modern word, and modern in an European ideology. A divorce, you have to, you go to the court, you get the papers, you fill up the form, you go submit the form, they give you a court day, they submit the form, and then they will send the letter to your husband or your wife. Then you go to court and you go through all this process, and finally, if it's approved, then you are divorced. Forget all that nonsense. That's the Western thing. Well, that's not biblical. That's not what the Bible is saying. And what the Bible is saying is that, look, you take that woman today, you marry her today, you have sex with her tonight, tomorrow you put her away. Once you separate from her, that is putting away. You don't have to go to court or get all this and get this paper and get that paper. No. So what it's saying is putting away. So I think the best way for me to describe this is, again, Matthew chapter 1. It's very clear in what it tells you. It tells you that Joseph decided to put her away. So when you marry a wife and you don't want to marry her anymore, or like when you take a woman's virginity, which is bringing me back to what the brother gave, what you were saying, um, about, we will, what we're trying to do right now is to break this down, break it down and have a very good understanding. But I just don't want to tell you that it's this and it is this and it's that, and then that's it. No, I want us to walk through this so that we can have a very good understanding together of what this is saying. So I could just say it's this and it's this and it's that, and but I want us to have a very practical understanding of this, practical study of this particular subject, because it's very important, especially for law keepers. So, example, it tells you in Matthew chapter 1 verse 19 that Joseph decided to put Mary away. Okay. So if we come back to Matthew chapter 5 verse 31 and 32, also Matthew chapter 19 verse 8 and 9, it's saying the same thing. Matthew 19 verse 8 and 9. So it's telling you that whoever marries a woman who is put away commits adultery. So once you understand this, if we go back to the scenario that we're looking at, it will help us to understand it properly. So whoever marries the woman who is put away, I think I'm going to have to share my screen with you and take you to some other scriptures so we can see those scriptures together. So it says that whoever marries the woman who is put away commits adultery. Does anybody want to try? Anyone else want to try? What does that mean? That if you marry a woman who is put away, you're committing adultery. What does that mean? Or why did he say that?
Because I think she's still someone else's wife. She's not free.
What was it that made her someone else's wife?
Because he took her virginity.
Okay, so I want to ask a question. This is a broad question to everybody. My question to you, this is a very honest and genuine question. Please answer me if you can. Very honest question. And answer me honestly. Even if the answer might be difficult for you to give me, just answer me honestly. Let's just be honest. If every man in this world decides to obey Christ, Yeshua, and decide not to marry a woman who is put away, because a woman who is put away, the question is, who is the one that put her away? What do you mean a woman who is put away? Well, I gave you an example with Joseph. And a woman who is put away is not that you cannot marry a woman who her father put her away, so now you cannot marry her. Or she's living with her brother put her away, you cannot marry her. No, that's not what this is saying. This is not telling you that you cannot marry a woman who was living with her brother and her brother put her away. Now you cannot marry her because her brother put her away. Her cousin put her away. Now you cannot marry her. Her mother put her away. No. Putting her away there has to do with sex. A man married her. Things did not work out. They separated. That's what this is talking about. Staying on the context, which is marriage, sex. You cannot marry a woman who is put away. Put away by who? By the man that took her virginity. You cannot marry that woman. You cannot marry her. So, if you think about this question I'm asking you, the answer might be troubling. Think about this question. If every man decide to obey Christ, which that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. We know that. But we're just using a hypothetical example. Let's assume that every man in the world decide to obey Christ. And they decide to obey what he says. Don't marry a woman who is put away from a woman who a man takes her virginity and then put her away. Don't marry her. If every man decides to do this, do you think that a man that fears Christ and keeps the law and fears the Most High, do you think that he will marry a woman who lost her virginity to some random man, or lost her virginity and she's no longer with the man that she lost her virginity to? Do you think that a man that fears Yah would do that?
No, my brother. A man who has that understanding would not do.
Okay. There are some scriptures that we did not get involved. I think if we get those scriptures involved, it will help us to understand this better. Like Deuteronomy chapter 22, from verse 13 to 21. Deuteronomy 22, 13 to 21, where the Most High talked about if a man marries a woman and then lies against her, saying that she was not a virgin. I married this woman. When I took her, I found that she was not a virgin. The Most High said that if he was lying and the parent can produce the evidence of her virginity, then the man will be fined 100 shekels of silver, and the money will be given to her father. If it's true that that girl was not a virgin when she was married, she is supposed to be put to death, right? That is Deuteronomy 22, from verse 13 to 21. The Most High said that if she was not a virgin when the man married her, she is supposed to be put to death, according to Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 13 to 21. So these are scriptures that you have to consider and understand and consider, because the Bible is telling you the truth of the matter is that according to the Bible, you're not supposed to marry a woman who is not a virgin or a widow. So once a woman lays with multiple men, you cannot marry her. Okay, now let me show you a practical example of what I'm talking about actually right now. Let's go into the book of we're going to go into the book of Jubilees. Let me show you this in action. Jubilees chapter 33. Jubilees 33. Let's go. So once a woman lays with multiple men, you cannot marry her. According to the Bible, she's defiled. Now, this is not something we should blame the Most High. We should blame our ancestors who did not keep the law and then teach us the law. You know, if you have been with multiple men, it's not the fault of the Most High. It's the fault of our ancestors. They are the ones that we have to blame. The law of the Most High was already in effect before we were born. The Most High did not see us and make this law. All right, can you see my screen, my brothers and my sisters? I want to show you something. Brother Larry, are you there?
Yes, brother, we are seeing your screen.
Okay, good. Um, all right, let's. I pray Brother Larry is still there because this is his question. So um, I don't like to answer question
Here,
when the person that asked the question is
I'm
not here.
here. I'm here.
Okay, good. So I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show something on the screen. Can you see it?
Can you make the screen bigger, a little bigger? They're so tiny.
Yeah, the text itself is tiny. It's tiny.
Okay,
Um,
it's getting bigger now. Better, better.
okay. But in order to read it, unfortunately, it's
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
let me see. Maybe I could. Okay, I think I'll do it this way, and I'll just move it to the side. Okay, so this is the book of Jubilees, chapter 33. So what I'm about to show you here, you will see that once a woman has sex with multiple men, you cannot marry her. Let's go, for example. Look at what happened here. So, pardon me because I want to be able to read this and read it fast, but I will zoom in. Uh, I'll try and zoom in. Okay, let's go. You can also actually Google this yourself. You can look this up. I googled the book of Jubilees 33, Jubilees 33. So you could check it out yourself. It's on Google. Uh, it's
Yeah,
this
go
is
ahead.
okay. So it says, and Jacob went and dwelt to the south of Magdala Draph, and he went to his father Isaac, he and Leah his wife, on the new moon of the 10th month. Verse 2. And Reuben saw Bilhah, Rachel's maid, the concubine of his father. We'll come back to this word, concubine. We'll come back to that. The concubine of his father, bathing in water in a secret place, and he loved her, more like lusted after her. That's not true love. You don't love your father's wife when you see her naked. No, you close your eyes and you keep walking. That's what you do. You don't stand there and love her with your eyes. Verse 3. Jubilees chapter 33, verse 3. And he hid himself at night, and he entered the house of Belial at night, and he found her sleeping alone on a bed in her house. Verse 4. And he lay with her, and she awoke and saw, and behold, Reuben was laying with her in the bed, and she uncovered the border of her covering, and seized him, and cried out, and discovered that it was Reuben. Verse 5. And she was ashamed because of him, and released her hand from him, and he fled. Verse 6. And she lamented because of this thing exceedingly, and did not tell it to anyone. Verse 7. Jubilees 33:7. And when Jacob returned and sought her, she said unto him, I am not clean for thee, for I have been defiled. For I have been defiled as regards thee. For Reuben has defiled me, and has lain with me. The night I was asleep, and did not discover until he uncovered my skirt and slept with me. Verse 8. And Jacob was exceedingly wroth with Reuben, because he had lain with his Leah, because he had uncovered his father's skirt. Verse 9. And Jacob did not approach her again, because Reuben had defiled her. And for any man who uncovers his father's skirt, his deed is wicked exceedingly, for he is abominable. He is abominable before Yahweh. So what I wanted to show you here is that it says that Jacob did not approach her again. Look at this in verse 9. And Jacob did not approach her approach her again. What does that mean? Can anybody tell me? What does it mean that Jacob did not approach her again? In verse 9.
It means that Jacob did not lay with her anymore, or he did not have sexual relation with her.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's quickly look at Deuteronomy chapter 24. Deuteronomy 24. There's a reason why I'm showing you this, because we're going to come back to that scenario about a girl being raped. So it's important to understand these things that we're looking at right now. So Deuteronomy 24. Look at this. It's only 4 verses. So pardon me, I just want to read this because it will help us to have a better understanding. So it says in from verse 1, Deuteronomy 24 from verse 1, when a man takes a wife and marries her, and it happens that she finds no favor in his eyes, because he has found some uncleanness in her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce, puts it in her hand, and sends her out of his house. When she has departed from his house and goes and becomes another man's wife, if the later husband detests her and writes her a certificate of divorce, puts it in her hand, and sends her out of his house, or if the later husband, bear with me, because we want to make sure that brother, if you're not talking, let's keep your mic closed, because when this thing is played back on a video, we will be hearing the noise, everything that happens in the house where you are. So whenever you're not speaking, just mute the mic. Where am I? Verse 3. If the later husband detests her and writes her a certificate of divorce, puts it in her hand, and sends her out of his house, or if the later husband dies, who took her as his wife. Verse 4. Then her former husband, who divorced her, must not take her back to be his wife after she has been defiled. For that is an abomination before Yah, and you shall not bring sin on the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you. So look at this, my brothers and sisters. Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. It says that her husband should not take her back because she has been defiled. Because she's been defiled. He must not take her back. Her former husband must not take her back because she's been defiled. Now, I want to zero in on this, and I really need you to get involved in this, my brothers and sisters. So, when it says that her former husband cannot take her back because she's been defiled, what is it that defiled her? That's my question. Why is this woman defiled? A man married her. They had a situation where the marriage did not work out, or for whatever reason. She leaves. She started living with another man. And then she had some issue with that man, or that man dies. The Bible said that her former husband, her first husband, cannot take her back because she's been defiled. My question to you, all my brothers and sisters, what exactly was this thing that defiled her? Why is she defiled? Why is it that she had a husband? She's no longer living with that husband. She's now living with another man. And then that man dies, or they're no longer together. Why is it that the first husband cannot take this woman back? Because she's defiled. What exactly was this thing that defiled her? What made her defiled? Why is she defiled? Please jump in.
Yes, the woman is defiled. What caused her defilement is because after she left the first husband, she went and laid with another man, or had sexual relationship with that man. So when that relationship didn't work out, or that man died, or whatever the case may be, she cannot go back to marry her first husband, because that is what caused her defilement. laying with the first husband and then going to lay with another man. That is what caused the defilement. So she cannot go and lay with her former husband.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Anyone else want to answer? All right. My brothers and sisters, when a man impregnates a woman, when a man lays with a woman, each time he has sex with her, he is living part of himself inside her. Even the heathen are now confirming this. They are finding male DNA in women who are not even married, but they are sexually active. They are having sex with men and they don't have a husband. They are finding the DNA of these men inside these women, the DNA of the men inside these women. My brothers and sisters, you see, when a woman gets pregnant and a man impregnates a woman, when a man impregnates a woman, that baby, in one way or the other, must be like the man that impregnated the woman. It's either he looks like the father, the baby inside the woman, that baby will either look like the man, or talk like the man, or behave like the man. There must be something from that man that will be inside of that baby. So the thing that defiles women or defiles a woman is that each time I lay with a woman and sperm goes out of my body, that sperm is part of me. That sperm is part of my DNA. Each time that sperm goes inside of that woman, part of me goes inside of her and she becomes part of me. That is the reason why the Bible tells you that the two will become one. The two becomes one. So when a man marries a woman, the way that the Most High designed it, the more they live together, the more they have sex, the more they live together, the closer they become. So if you also remember, the Most High gave us a law that said that if you marry a woman, you are not supposed to travel on a business for 1 year. You're not supposed to go to war. So the idea is basically that the more you live with your wife, the more you sex her, the more you have sex with her, the more she becomes like you. Because she is taking on your DNA. It is not you that is taking her DNA. No, it is her becoming like you. She is taking on your DNA. So the more you live with her, the more you have sex with her, the more she thinks like you, the more she behaves like you. And if she thinks like you, the more she thinks like you, the more she behaves like you, guess what? The less crisis you're going to have, the less argument you're going to have, the less disagreement you're going to have, the more likely you are to see things together. My brothers and sisters, let me tell you why you have so much problem in marriage today. The reason why you have so much problem is because you have people that will be having sex with random people. You have a young girl taking DNA from multiple men, and then later on your son will marry her. She has already taken on the DNA of other men. She is already thinking like other men. That's why women always have a soft place in their heart for the man that took their virginity. They never forget the man that took their virginity. The more a husband and wife have sex, the more the woman becomes like the man. That is part of the reason why the Most High made it that she has to be a virgin. No man is supposed to touch her. She's like a package. So once you get her You now begin to program her the way you want. It's like a cell phone. And because your DNA is going into her, she's becoming like you slowly. Let me give you another example. Numbers 31. Numbers 31. Numbers 31. Numbers 31. If I'm repeating scripture, because I want you to read it. I don't want you to forget it. I want you to write it down and read it. You will see that the Most High, the Israelites, went to fight against their enemy. Moses was told to prepare for war, for the Israelites to go and take revenge. Numbers 31. When the Israelites, listen carefully, my brothers and sisters, what we are going through right now is very deep. When the Israelites, our ancestors, went to that land, Numbers 31, what do? They killed all the males. They killed all the males. They took the women and their children and they brought them back to Israel. Numbers 31. They brought them back to Israel. And when Moses saw that, Moses became angry at these Israelites. He asked them, "What have you done? What are you doing? Why would you kill the male and the female, the Midianites? Why would you kill the Midianite men? You killed the men and you took their wives and you brought them back here. The problem is not that they killed their men. No! Moses told them, go back and kill every single woman, every single female that have known a man. Every single one of them that have known a man, go back and kill them. Only keep the ones who have not known a man." I wish we would have read this chapter, but it's a very long chapter. It's about 54 verses. 54 verses. But if you read it, you will see what it says. Moses told them, go back now. Kill all the female, all the women that have known a man. All the women among them that have known a man. Here we go, verse 17. Now therefore kill every male, the little ones, and kill every woman that had known man by lying with him. But all the women children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourself. Numbers 31, 17 and 18. Numbers 31, 17 and 18. The book of Numbers chapter 31 verse 17 and 18. Moses told them, go back. All the women among these women that you brought, check them. The ones who are still a virgin, keep those ones for yourself. The women who are no longer virgins, kill those ones, and the little boys also. So the question is, why will Moses ask the Israelites to go kill these women that have known a man? You killed their husbands. You took them and their children. So what's the point of killing these women that are no longer virgins? Because they have the DNA of their husbands. Listen, let me tell you something if you don't know. This is what I would tell the Israelites. You don't even need to tell them this. And nobody needs to tell you this, what I'm about to say. Listen. Because those women have been laying with their husband and have taken on the DNA of their husband, they are now becoming like their husband. So now you invade them. Now you kill them. You kill their husband and took them as prisoners of war. They will poison you. They will kill you off. But the main thing is that they are defiled. The reason why Moses told them to go and kill these women is because they cannot marry these women. These women are pretty much useless in Israel. He can't marry them. So they are defiled. They have the blood of their husbands. They have the husband, so you cannot marry them. So I'm showing you these different scriptures for you to be able to better understand what we're dealing with here. And the point I'm trying to make here is very simple. What I'm trying to share with you and what I'm trying to tell you is that you are not supposed to marry a woman who is not a virgin or a widow. And you are not supposed to marry a woman who has lain with multiple men. Now, let me point out something that I pointed out earlier. The Most High said in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 22, from verse 13 to 21. Our Heavenly Father says that He said that if it is true that a girl lost her virginity while she was in her father's house, that girl should be put to death. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 20 and 21. Read it and you see for yourself. If a girl loses her virginity in her father's house, the Most High said that she has to be put to death. If a girl is in her father's house, she doesn't have a husband, and then she goes and has sex with a man, the Most High says, kill her, because at that point she's useless. If you are interested in this question, you have to consider that particular place in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 22. Let me pull it up because it's important. Let me pull that up. Deuteronomy chapter 22. Deuteronomy 22, verse 20, mainly verse 21. Let's pull that up. Look at this. So the question is, why is it that the Most High said that a girl should be killed? Because she's no longer a virgin. Why? Because she's useless. If she's no longer a virgin and she was not properly married, she's useless. No man is supposed to marry her. You cannot marry her. Look at verse 22 or verse 20, 21 and 22. I'm sorry, verse 20 and 21 that I said earlier. Verse 20 and 21. I am on Deuteronomy chapter 22. Deuteronomy 22. Deuteronomy 22, verse 20 and 21. It says, but if the thing is true and evidence of virginity are not found for the young woman, then they shall bring out the young woman to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death with stones, because she has done disgraceful thing in Israel, to play the harlot in her father's house. So you shall put away evil from among you. So the Most High is telling us very clearly that if a girl lose her virginity while she's still living in her father's house, that girl should be put to death. If a girl lose her virginity while she's still in her father's house, that girl should be put to death. Why? Because no man is supposed to marry her. A girl who loses her virginity in her father's house before she gets married, before somebody marries her, whether she lost her virginity by her boyfriend or whoever, except if she's raped. If she's raped, that's a different thing. Look at the next verse, verse 22, talks about rape. If a man is found lying with a woman married to a husband, then both of them shall die. If a man has sex with a woman marries to another man, both of them shall die. Because if you have sex with somebody's wife, you're basically ruining their marriage. The man that laid with the woman and the woman, so you shall put away evil from Israel. Now, verse 23 and 24 now talks about rape. Talks about rape. The point I'm trying to make is that we are not, the fact that the Most High said that if a girl loses her virginity to a man who is not her husband, and she was not raped, if she was raped, only the man that raped her will die. If she willingly gives away her body, if she willingly gives away her virginity before a man marries her, the Most High said that she should be put to death. You cannot marry a woman like that. And that brings us back to Matthew, what Christ says in Matthew. That brings us back to Matthew chapter 5. That's why he said that if you marry a woman who is put away, because the Most High said that if you take a woman's virginity, she becomes your wife. Right here, right here. Look at the last two verses, right here. Verse 28 and 29. If you take a woman's virginity, she becomes your wife. You're supposed to marry her. And you cannot put her away. You cannot put her away all her life. Once you take a woman's virginity, she becomes your wife. You cannot put her away. And I cannot marry her myself. I cannot marry a woman who is not a virgin. She has to be a virgin. If she loses her virginity while in her father's house, she's supposed to die. She is supposed to die according to the law. So a girl is supposed to remain a virgin. So now you understand, supposed to remain a virgin till her wedding night. Now you understand why Joseph decided to put Mary away. Joseph could have just kept the whole thing by himself. Joseph could have just kept his mouth. Let's assume that Mary was not a virgin. Joseph could have kept quiet and nobody would know. The reason why Joseph decided to put her away is because Joseph understood that he cannot marry a girl who is no longer a virgin. She has to be a virgin or a widow, meaning that she was a virgin. Her husband dies. Only one man. She has only been with one man. She has only been with that man that took her virginity, and that man dies. That makes her a widow. What you have today is fake widows. Bunch of fake widows. I gave an example with Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was the American basketball player that died of a helicopter crash. His wife's name is Vanessa. After that crash, I gave you an example with Vanessa Williams or Vanessa Bryant. So, if you ask Vanessa Bryant, she would tell you that she is a widow. Even though maybe in high school, she had sex with like 3 or 4 boys in high school. In college, she had sex with multiple men in college. Now, Kobe Bryant married her. And then he died. And then she would tell you that she is a widow. No, she's not a widow because she was having sex in high school. She's not a widow biblically. In the sight of the world, she's a widow. But in the sight of the Most High, she was not a widow. She is not a widow because she was not a virgin or a widow when he married her. When he married her, multiple men has already been with her already. So widow, what it means biblically is different from what it means physically, like in the world today. So the fact that Joseph decided to put Mary away, that tells you that we're not supposed to marry a woman who is not a virgin. And other examples I gave you. And by the way, let me remind you of what happens when a girl loses her virginity. Blood comes out. That blood is the blood of the covenant of the marriage. That blood that comes out when you take her virginity and she bleeds. The reason why that blood comes out, because covenant has to do with blood. When she bleeds, that is the blood of the covenant of the marriage. Malachi chapter 2, verse 13 and 14. You see what it says there about the covenant of the marriage. Let me read that right here. Malachi chapter 2. Malachi 2. Malachi chapter 2, this is what the Most High says. And this will help you understand the meaning of that blood that comes out of a woman's body when she loses her virginity. That blood is not just some random accident that happens to almost every woman when she loses her virginity. That blood will come out. You think that that's just an accident? No, it's not. All right, so let's read this, and I think I will now go around and come back to our scenario that we're looking at. So I wanted to show you something here. Let's take a look at the book of Malachi, chapter 2, verse 13 and 14. It says, "And this is the second thing you do." This is the Most High speaking to the priest. The Most High was speaking to the priest in chapter 2 of the book of Malachi. Example, if you look at the beginning. Okay? Look at the beginning. "And now, O priests, this commandment is for you, if you will not hear." So this is talking about, he's talking to the priest. Let's come down to verse 13 and 14. "And the Most High says to them, and this is the second thing you do. You cover the altar of Yahweh with tears, with weeping and crying, so he does not regard the offering anymore, nor receive it with goodwill from your hands." So he said that one of the things that they're also doing is that they are crying a lot. They come into the temple, the priest will come into the temple, they'll be crying, they'll be weeping and crying, tears coming out of their eyes. The reason why they've been crying is because the Most High is no longer accepting their offering. The Most High was no longer accepting their offerings, and they don't know why. The Most High no longer accepts their offerings. They don't know why, so they keep crying, trying to find out why is it that our offerings are no longer being accepted. Now the Most High will tell us why. Verse 14. "Yet you say, for what reason?" That is why. Why is our offering not being accepted? Yet you say, for what reason? Now the Most High will give the answer. "Because Yahweh has been witness between you and the wife of your youth." Because Yahweh, the reason why he no longer answered their prayer is because Yahweh has been witness between you and the wife of your youth, with whom you have dealt treacherously. Yet she is your companion and your wife by covenant. Your wife by covenant. Your wife by covenant. The reason why I brought you to this chapter is because I had mentioned that blood that comes out of a woman's vagina when her husband marries her, and that blood comes out, that is the blood of the covenant of that marriage. That is the reason why the Most High said that you cannot put her away all your life. But if another man goes to her vagina, if another man has sex with her, now you have to put her away. She's defiled. That marriage has been defiled. That covenant has been broken. You have no choice but to let her go. That is the only reason why you can divorce a woman. Do you remember what you read in the book of Jubilee chapter 33? I showed you the book of Jubilee chapter 33. You see that when Reuben had sex with Bilhah, Jacob never touched her again. So now you understand why the Most High said that if a girl loses her virginity while she's still in her father's house, if a girl loses her virginity while she's still in her father's house, that girl is put to death. That girl is to be put to death. Now it all begins to make sense. So that blood that drips out when a girl loses her virginity is not just some random blood. Actually, she was supposed to take a white cloth given to her by her parents. You're supposed to give your daughter a white cloth. When her husband goes into her for the first time, blood is going to come out. And they are supposed to take that blood and touch it on the white cloth and then put that cloth on the side. After they are done having intercourse for the first time, they will take that cloth and bring it back to the parents of the woman, the girl, and the parents will keep it as the evidence of her virginity. This is found in Deuteronomy chapter 22. So the fact that the Most High said that if a girl loses her virginity, she is to be put to death. If she loses her virginity before getting married, before being married, if she loses her virginity just like girls are doing today, that's a death sentence. The fact that Joseph decided to put Mary away because he was thinking that she was no longer a virgin. Joseph decided to put Mary away because Joseph was thinking that Mary was no longer a virgin. That's the second evidence. So if you look at these things that I've shown you, the truth of the matter, the uncomfortable truth, the painful truth, the uncomfortable truth is that a man is not supposed to marry a woman who has lain with multiple women or multiple men. Okay, that's not supposed to happen. That's why I also showed you the book of Deuteronomy chapter 24. It says that if you have issue with your wife and she goes out of your house and she starts living with another man, you cannot take her back. Once she leaves your house and another man gets on top of her, she's defiled. You cannot take her back. Once she is defiled, she is defiled. That's it. It's done. You cannot take her back. Case closed. Now, let me come back to you, my brother. Now that we've gone through all this, let's come back to your scenario. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, brother. So the example you gave me is that what if a girl raped? She was raped and the rapist ran away. There's no way to find the rapist. The rapist just ran away.
Yeah.
There's no way to find the rapist. What will the man do? That's the question, right?
What will the woman do?
What will the woman do? Okay. So in that case, considering the fact that considering everything we've looked at right now, because there is something that you need to clarify in this scenario that you gave me. If after she was raped, she kept herself pure, she was a virgin. Her name is Hannah somewhere. She was a virgin. She got into some situation. Somebody raped her and ran away. If she keeps herself pure after this incident and no other man touched her, then she has a chance. What I will advise her is keep yourself pure. Don't push yourself on any man. And even me myself will help her to pray. You know, if she's truly righteous, pray that the Most High will reveal this man back. Even if there's nothing, let this man die and let us hear the news that he is dead. I know the Most High can do that if a woman is righteous. Example, the Most High was the one that killed Abigail's husband. The Most High killed Abigail's husband. 1 Samuel chapter 25. So if a woman is righteous, the Most High can kill the man. The man can die of a car accident or something. So the second aspect to this question is, what will she do? Yeah, what will she do if after she's raped and the man runs away and she then recovers and regain, herself and, survives and recovers, but then she began to do boyfriend. She began to lay with other men. She's still defiled. She's defiled. If she's a virgin and a man takes her virginity, if she's a virgin and a man takes her virginity, okay, we get it, we understand it. But she's not defiled because she's only been with one man. All that needs to happen is for the man to die and she's free. That I believe that if she's righteous, the Most High can do that. And one day you're going to hear some news. Did you know that people that robbed this place and raped some woman, they died, or somebody will give a confession? Something will happen. Stuff like that do happen. People do confess. People confess. So, but the problem is that if she, after she's been raped, and then she go on to be with other men, she's been defiled. You cannot marry her because she has all these men that had been with her. Because the point is that you are not supposed to deal with a woman who has the sperm and the blood of men, other men, and those men are still alive. No, you can't be with those women, with that woman, because she's defiled. That's the whole point.
This point is clear. The only question on my mind around this topic now, earlier on you mentioned about homosexuals, or I think it was probably today or in one of your videos, that the example of forgiveness, that homosexuals, if they repent, or can they continue in their ways. But what I'm trying to picture here is, in this real life story, it was armed robbers who robbed the family and they raped the young girls in their home when the robbery was taking place. So the case of finding this armed robber or this person dead is a very far probability, but nothing is impossible. And this happened about 30 years ago when this lady was raped. But what I'm trying to find out is, suppose this girl never finds this guy, the robbers or the armed robber or the story, but she moves on with her life and she has had sexual intercourse with 3, 4, 5 people, and she now finally finds a husband that she wants to marry. Where does forgiveness of Christ or come into play? When this girl realizes, okay, I slept around with 3, 4, 5 guys after I was raped. I want to settle down. I will never sleep with any other man other than my husband. And I ask for forgiveness. When I look at the example of 2 homosexuals who continue to remain homosexuals after hearing the truth, then I look at the example of this lady who now says, oh, now I'm into the truth. I realize that I'm not supposed to sleep with anybody except my husband. Well, the one who's supposed to be the real husband was a rapist, an armed robber who can never be found. But now I want to settle with this man and I ask for forgiveness. Can you explain to me if such a person can remain in that marriage?
Okay.
Based on forgiveness.
So we have something similar, that actually we have a sister. I'm sure she's going to come back. We have a sister. She's not here right now. But we have a sister that had a similar situation, who was raped. Okay, she was raped, and after she was raped, um, she went on to have sexual relation with other men. So she pointed out the fact that she was raped when she was young, and that was bad. That was very bad for something like that to happen. So the problem was that after she was raped, she went on to, be like any other girl, have boyfriends and all that stuff. So yeah, if the woman if the example you're giving me, this person was raped. Her name is Hannah, or her name is Sarah, or something. She was raped, and the rapist ran away. She never saw the rapist again, and she is a virgin. She was a virgin when she was raped, and she never saw the rapist again. Now she's like 30 years old, 35 years old, 40 years old, and she's never been with any other man. That's a different thing, because ever since the time she was raped, no other man touched her. If she is faithful towards the Most High and keep herself pure and holy, and no other man touches her, yes, there's a greater chance of her having a husband. But that's not usually what happens. So if we go to actually what happens, a woman is raped when she was a virgin, and then after that she recovers and she goes on to go into relationship with men and have sex with at least 2 or 3, 4 men, and then finally she finds a man and the man loves her and they settle down and they started living together and they started keeping the commandment. The truth of the matter is that that man is not her husband. There's nothing that she would do that will make that man her husband, even if they're keeping the law together, even if because she's been defiled. Yes, she was raped. That's bad. But don't forget that after she was raped, she still went on to be in relationships and had sex with multiple men. So the only man that will marry a woman like that is a man who doesn't understand the scripture and understand the importance of that her defilement. She's been defiled. The woman that you lay with or you marry and lay with is a woman who is not defiled. So a woman, for example, a woman who is a virgin, a man marries her, and then the man dies. The man dies. Now you can marry her. She's not defiled. Her husband is dead. She's only been with one man, and that man died. That makes her a widow. You can marry her. A woman that have had sex with multiple men, you cannot marry. She is defiled. It's an abomination in the sight of the Most High. Most people today are living with women who are defiled. Even preachers, even Hebrew Israelite preachers. I remember a couple of years ago, some time ago, somebody took my video and gave it to Pastor Dowell or something. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but Pastor Dowell came and watched the video and he commented. He said that I'm crazy. That's what he said. That I'm a lunatic or something. Or so he said something that I'm crazy. So I was like, hey, Pastor Dowell, could you elaborate more on what you mean? You can't just watch a video and say that I'm crazy. I'm giving you scriptures. Can you address the scripture? Can you say that these scriptures are wrong? So it's important for us, the men, to understand that once a woman has been laid with by multiple men, you cannot lay with her. She's defiled. That is what I really try to show you from different places. I gave you different scriptures. I gave you Matthew chapter 5 first, that said you cannot marry a woman who is put away. Why? Because she's been defiled. Joseph decided to put Mary away. Matthew chapter 1:19. Why? Because Joseph was thinking that she's been defiled. That's what he thought. Joseph thought that she was defiled. And then you see where the Messiah said that if a girl has sex with a man before being married, she's supposed to be put to death. So we are not supposed to marry a woman who has had sex with multiple men. You're only supposed to marry a woman who is a virgin or a woman who was a virgin. A man marries her and then that man dies. Now she's a widow. You can marry her. You cannot marry a widow. You cannot marry a widow who her husband dies. She goes on to have a couple of boyfriends and then you go and marry her. No, she's defiled. This is very simple and I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. Look, once multiple men gets on top of a woman, she's defiled. You cannot marry her. She has been defiled. The woman you marry has to be clean sexually. That's just the way it is. You cannot marry a woman who has been with. So in a situation, going back to your scenario that you gave, yes, this woman is a righteous woman, a holy woman. She was raped, but she goes on to have boyfriends. She goes on to be defiled by other men. And then finally, a man marries her. And then their eyes opens. They begin to keep the law. They begin to keep the Sabbath. They begin to love the Most High. Can this man really be her husband? No. He cannot because she's been defiled. It's too bad that all this stuff happened to her, but don't forget that after it happened to her, she went on to be with other men. And that was what defiled her. The man that raped her was not the one that defiled her. The man that raped her took her virginity. That's not defilement. That man is supposed to die and she'll move on with her life. She wasn't defiled when that man took her virginity. She was defiled when the other men began to get on top of her. That was what defiled her. The woman is supposed to be with one man at a time. One man at a time. A man can be with multiple women at a time. A man can marry multiple wives at a time, as long as they were virgins or widows. But a woman cannot be with two men at a time. A woman cannot be with multiple men at a time. It's one at a time. What do I mean by one at a time? Meaning that she's a widow or she's a virgin. Meaning that she's a virgin. A man marries her and then that man dies. If that man dies, then she is now free for somebody else to marry her. So one man at a time. It's the opposite for the men. A man can have multiple wives at a time. Example, First Samuel chapter 12 or Second Samuel chapter 12. Second Samuel chapter 12. The Most High gave David 10 women in one day. Those are Saul's widow. The widows of Saul. The Most High gave those women to David. 10 of them in one day. So, unlike the men, it's the opposite for the women. A woman can only be with one man at a time. Not like what we have today. Today we have the situation with uh, Jaden, 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 Jaden Smith or something. The woman Will Smith's so-called wife that was having sex for
Jada,
about 3 years.
Jada Smith.
Yes, she was having sex with some boy that was coming to their house. Some boy. He was a boy. He's not even a real boy. He's like a homosexual or something. He is very soft. And he was having sex. She was having sex with that thing. And then when the thing came out, what did she say? Oh, that was a mix up. I forgot the thing that she said. It was just a misstep or something. And today I think they're still living together. No, biblically, no. So a woman is supposed to be with one man at a time. One man at a time. Meaning that, a man marries you, takes your virginity. Yeah, you can have another husband if this your current husband dies. If your current husband dies, then you can have another husband. Everything I'm telling you right now, uh, Romans chapter 7 verse 1 to 3, right there. Romans chapter 7 verse 1 to 3. Paul said it. Paul made it very clear. So while your husband is alive, you cannot remarry. While your husband is alive, you cannot remarry. One husband at a time. Another example, First Corinthians chapter 7. First Corinthians chapter 7. You see what Paul said there in verse 10 and 11. First Corinthians 7, 10 and 11. First Corinthians 7, 10 and 11. Very clear. So if you want to have a husband, if you want to leave your husband, you can leave, but you cannot remarry. Very clear, very, very clear, very, very clear. One husband at a time. For the men, it's the opposite. For the men, it's literally the opposite. For the men. So for the woman, you can have more than one husband, but one at a time. Two of them cannot be alive at the same time. One of them has to be dead. So First Corinthians 7. Let's just look at this and then come right back to your question. First Corinthians 7, verse 10 and 11. First Corinthians 7, verse 10 and 11. As you can see, the context of this chapter is marriage. It says principles of marriage. Principles of marriage. So I am not putting this out of context. I'm not putting this out of context. Right there, verse 10. First Corinthians 7, verse 10. Now, to the married, I command, yet not I, but Yah. A wife is not to depart from her husband, but even if she, like as I said before, my brothers and sisters, please try to mute your mic when you come in so that people will not, because this is going to be very irritating when somebody watches this video. They will be hearing you touch stuff in your house, touching your phone, touching the things around the house. It's like it's unnecessary to have that kind of noise. So when you come in, please mute your mic because it might not seem too loud to you right now, but when the video is going to be very loud and it will irritate somebody watching the video. Okay, so First Corinthians chapter 7, verse 10. First Corinthians chapter 7, verse 10 and 11. It says, Now to the married I command, yet not I, but Yah or Yeshua. A wife is not to depart from her husband, but even if she departs, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband. And a husband is not to divorce his wife. Why? This is all because of Deuteronomy 22. Deuteronomy 22, the Most High made it very clear. Once you take a woman's virginity, she becomes your wife. Once you take a woman's virginity, she becomes your wife. Once you take a woman's virginity, she becomes your wife. There's no two ways about that. You take her virginity, she becomes your wife. You cannot put her away. You cannot put your wife away once you take her virginity, except if another man lays with her. If another man lays with her, now you have to put her away, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. I see stuff that are going on in the world today. People will go and have sex with another man, and their husband will forgive them, and then they will continue to live together. Absolute nonsense. Biblically, you cannot do that. Okay, let's come down to verse 36. The same chapter. The same chapter. Let's do verse 39. The same chapter, the last verse. This one in verse 36 talked about a girl, being married off when she sees a monthly period. When a girl sees a monthly period, she's ready for marriage. That is verse 36. But let's look at verse 39. Verse 39. 1 Corinthians 7:39. 1 Corinthians 7:39. 1 Corinthians 7:39. A wife is bound by law as long as her husband lives. But if her husband dies, she is at liberty to be married to whom she wishes, only in Yeshua. So if a wife is bound by law to her husband as long as he is alive, again, Paul is paraphrasing, he is actually paraphrasing Deuteronomy chapter 22. Deuteronomy 22. So the thing is that a woman cannot have more than one man or live with have sex with more than. A woman cannot have sex with more than one man at a time in their lifetime. No. A woman can only be with one man. If that man dies, then someone else can marry her. So you cannot marry a woman that have had sex with multiple men. She is defiled. I've really tried to show this from different places. Jubilees chapter 33 shows it. Belial told her husband, you cannot have sex with me because I have been defiled by Reuben. I have been defiled. What did Reuben do to her to defile her? What did Reuben do to her to defile her? Reuben had sex with her. That defiled her because she's somebody's wife. I also showed you Deuteronomy chapter 24, where it says that if your wife leaves you and another man start living with her, you cannot take her back there's no reason why you should take her back because she's been defiled. Same thing in Deuteronomy 24. That was the reason why Joseph wanted to put Mary away, because he thought that she's been defiled. So if you are a man and your wife was raped when she was young, if your wife was raped when she was young, but after the rape, she went on to have boyfriends, she went on to lay with other men, and then finally you married her. Now you're living together. Now you've repented. Now you're keeping the law. Look, she is still not your wife. She's been defiled. You cannot marry her. Ezra chapter 10. Ezra chapter 10. The book of Ezra chapter 10 from verse 1. Ezra chapter 10. You will see what happened to the Israelites when they married women they were not supposed to marry. When they married women they were not supposed to marry, they had to put them away. They had no choice. They decided to put those women away because our ignorance cannot annul the law of the Most High. The Most High God is not going to say, all right, okay, you people are very stubborn. I know I told you to do this, but you did not do it. All right, let me just change my law. No, it doesn't work like that. We are the ones that have to change. So it depends on the circumstances that woman is in. The woman in question, if after she was raped and no other man touched her, that's a different case. It's a different case. I believe in miracle. I believe that the Most High can reveal, and the situation of that man, the whereabouts of that man will be revealed. There's nothing impossible. Come on. Something bigger has happened. Bigger stuff has happened. A baby has been stolen at a young age and taken to another place, and then they get old and then still reunite. Come on. Stuff bigger than that has happened in this world. So that a man raped a woman and ran away, you think that no, the Most High can get flush that man out, dead or alive, and then the woman will be free. So, but if she goes on to have sex with multiple men, and then now she settles down, and then no, she's still defiled, and the man is not supposed to even be with her because she's defiled. Sexually, she's defiled. She has the DNA of multiple men inside her. You and I can never be one. How can you be one when she has other stuff inside her already from other men? It's only the things that come from you that's supposed to be inside her. And that's why the Messiah said that if a man rapes a girl, that man should be put to death. Kill that man. And the girl will now be, the spirit that is inside her will be dead. The spirit of that man that raped her will also die. When that man dies, his spirit dies, and all the stuff that remains inside of her will also go. That's why Moses told them to kill those women that have known a man. Kill them too, because they pretty much, you can't marry them. They're Midianites and they've known a man, and so I think that the problem that we have today is that you don't have a lot of people who are preaching this, because most of these men are guilty of this. Most of these Hebrew Israelite camps and groups are guilty of this. Christian pastors are guilty of this. Most of these people are living with women who are not their wives. So they don't preach this, they just ignore it. And we don't even realize that you are not supposed to marry a woman that has been with multiple men. Once a woman has been with more than one man, she's defiled. She is defiled. There is no reason why you can be with her. She's polluted, she's defiled. I know it's tough to accept, it's difficult to accept, it's painful to accept, but it is what it is. And it's just what it is. And trying to sugarcoat it and lie about it or ignore it is not gonna make anything better. It's gonna make things even worse. We have to do what our ancestors did in the book of Ezra, chapter 10. The book of Ezra. Our ancestors married women they're not supposed to marry. They married them when they found out that that was against the law. They put those women away and their children. So if a man is living with a woman, or a woman is living with a man, and that woman finds themselves in this situation, and you were raped, but later on you went on to be with other men, and now you're living with this man is not your husband. He's not your husband. There's no amount of repentance that will change it. That's why I gave that example with homosexuals. Homosexuals that met 30 years ago, 35 years ago, they've been together. They've never quarreled. They loved each other. They care for each other. They've been together. Now they started keeping the law. Are they going to continue living together as husband and husband just because they repented, just because they now know the truth, just because they started doing this in ignorance? No. Our ignorance cannot annul the law of the Most High. So a woman in that situation should leave that man. They cannot live together as husband and wife. They cannot be having sex. Each time they have sex, each time you have sex with her, you're polluting yourself. You're committing adultery, and you're polluting yourself. And according to the Bible, it said that it's an abomination. Deuteronomy 24. Deuteronomy 24. That's an abomination. You're polluting yourself. You cannot marry a woman or have sex with a woman that has had sex with multiple men. You see, that's something that I used to do in the past. It's disgusting. It's gross. It's filthy. Now I realize that it is. I don't care how beautiful you are. I don't care. But, the more spiritual you become, the more you understand that this thing cannot be done. You cannot lay with a woman who is defiled. A woman who has sex
Yes,
with
brother.
multiple men. All right. Come back to you, my brother.
Yeah, I understand everything that you're saying there clearly. Could you explain Hosea 1
Hosea 1.
to us, please?
Okay, before we go to Hosea 1, brother that asked the question, brother Larry, you're still on, right? Because I just responded to something that you presented to a different scenario that you gave me. I responded to that. I want to make sure that that we get that before I go to what the other brother is bringing up in Hosea chapter 1. Brother Larry, do you understand what I explained in terms of, what? Let's just deal with Hosea, right? Let's deal with Hosea, and then we'll come back. We'll come back to this because I think that Hosea chapter 1 applies to what we're talking about right now.
I really understand everything you're saying, and I totally agree. I'm only trying to determine the concubine aspect of the question, how that's going to play out.
All right, we'll come back to the concubine aspect of it. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's going to be the next part now. How do you do this? And I mean, I've seen a situation. I've gotten a call from a brother. I once got a call from a brother, and he explained to me, look, this woman, she's in my house. I cannot marry her. Can she stay? Okay, I'm not going to tell you what I told him. I will come back to that, to the concubine aspect of it. But first, let's address Hosea. So brother brought up the issue of Hosea chapter 1. Let's see, because that do come up sometimes, and in a way, it does apply to what we're talking about right now. Because it talks about marrying, what is this? Hosea chapter 14. No, Hosea chapter 1 is what I need. Hosea chapter 1. So because it's talking about the Most High telling Hosea to go and marry a prostitute. So let's see how that applies to this. It's something that you definitely have to. Um, we cannot ignore this Hosea chapter 1 when it comes to this particular topic right now. Okay, let's go. Hosea chapter 1 from verse 1. Hosea chapter 1 from verse 1. The word of Yahweh that came to Hosea, the son of Beri, in the days of Uzziah, Jonathan, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Yehuda, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel. Verse 2. When Yah began to speak by Hosea, Yah said to Hosea, go, take yourself of a harlotry and children of harlotry, for the land has committed great harlotry by departing from Yahweh. Verse 2 or verse 3, sorry. So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. Then Yah said to him, call his name Yisrael, for in a little while I will avenge the bloodshed of Israel on the house of Jehu, and bring an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Israel. Verse 6. She conceived again and bore a daughter. Then Elohim said to him, call her name Lo Rahuma, for I will no longer have mercy on the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. Yet I will have mercy on the house of Yehuda, will save them by Yahweh their Elohim. I will not save them by bow, nor by sword or battle, by horses or horsemen. Verse 8. Now when she had weaned Lo Ruhama, she conceived and bore a son. Elohim said, call his name Lo Ami, for you are not my people. For you are not my people, and I will not be your Elohim. Okay, so the question is, we've seen what's going on, what was happening here. The Messiah said, go and marry a prostitute, and he did. He married a prostitute. Okay. The question now is, the brother asked me to read this and explain it. Well, we have Hosea chapter 1 right here, where the Most High, considering everything I have been saying, about how a man is not supposed to marry a woman who is defiled. Not only was I saying it, but I was showing it. So what kind of contradiction is this? How can the Most High now turn around and tell a man, Hosea, to go and marry a prostitute? A prostitute that was being defiled pretty much on a daily basis. On a daily basis. On a daily basis. By men. How can the Most High tell him to go and marry her? Ha! That's an interesting situation. And I know that you are eagerly waiting for my answer. How do I explain this? Well, I don't have to explain anything. I do have a question for you, though. Look over here. Let me ask you what this means. And the answer to this, if you know what this means, that will explain to you what happened. So it says in verse 2, when Yahweh began to speak to by Hosea, Yahweh said to Hosea, go take yourself a wife of harlotry and the children of harlotry. Let me ask you something, my brothers and sisters. I would like everybody to respond. It's a very important question. Very, very important thing that brother brought up here about the book of Hosea. I would like everybody to participate. When he says, go and take a wife of harlotry, what does that mean? Wife of harlotry. And by the way, I'm reading from New King James. What does wife of harlotry means? The question I'm asking you right now will help you understand this chapter of Hosea. When the Most High told him to go and marry a prostitute, by the time we're done with this question I'm asking you, you will understand what the Most High is saying here. This is not the first time I'm dealing with this particular chapter. So what does it mean when it says the wife of harlotry?
Well, the wife of harlotry is a wife of prostitution. It means a wife that is not a wife, that is not really a wife. So in other words, God is giving him into harlotry, into meaningless, meaning it's not a wife. What is supposed to be a wife? So God, that Most High actually asked him to do this as a symbolism of the harlotry of the children of Israel. In other words, I want to use a word like, I guess, meaningless, meaning when you look at a wife, the Most High is not giving them a wife in the definition of a wife. This is a symbolical marriage to show the heart of the Most High towards the situation, meaning you don't call me your God, so I'm not going to be your God. Let them be discarded. So in a way, it's more like saying, okay, you want to be discarded? I'm going to show you to the hands of being discarded. I think this marriage is not a marriage in the context of Most High marriage. Is as best as I can explain it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Who else wants to get in?
Yes, when it talks about a wife of harlotry, harlotry in this context is more referring to spiritual fornication. And we know that the Lord always look at Israel as a woman that he's married to. So in this context here is really talking about a woman that is harlotry is talking about fornication.
But the truth is that the truth of the matter was that actually Hosea did marry a prostitute. Like it actually happened, as in that this is not like a metaphor.
Yes.
There was actually children born. So this is not just like something spiritual or parable or something. No, this is not a parable. That actually happened.
Yes. Well, harlotry in this context is really referring to like harlotry is dealing with fornication. So that's a woman who basically laid with different women. So a wife of harlotry is basically you taking a wife that a fornicator or a prostitute or a female prostitute.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. So who else wants to answer? Because there's a second question. And this, by the time we're done, you will see why I'm asking you this. This will give you a very clear understanding of the book of Hosea. when he was, because it's a very interesting situation. How can the Most High tell a man to go marry a prostitute? Like, how is that possible? In light of all the other places we've seen in the scriptures where the Most High had zero tolerance. How can he tell her to go marry? He didn't tell her to go preach to the prostitute, not to preach to her, but to marry her and just keep her like that. Come on, what's happening? So who else want to answer? What does the wife of harlotry mean?
When I see wife of harlotry, I see wife of impurity. She's just impure.
If she is impure, where does the prostitute or harlotry part comes into this? Because she was a prostitute. I'm not gonna just tell you that, oh no, what you are reading here is not real. It was just a metaphor. No, it wasn't a metaphor. It's exactly what it says. She was a prostitute. So it is what it is. She was a prostitute. So the question is, what does it mean when it says, take for yourself wife of harlotry? What does that mean? All right, let me get to the real question. Now, check this out. Everybody pay attention. This will help you now to understand what was going on here. What does this mean? Wife of children of harlotry. Children of harlotry. What does that mean? And by the way, I'm reading from New King James, but you can also look at other translations, because I don't want it to seem like I'm just picking and choosing the translation that suits me. So if you want, you can look at other translation too. So it says in King James. He said the same thing pretty much in King James. The beginning of the word of Yah by Hosea, and Yahweh said to Hosea, go take unto thee a wife of whoredom and children of whoredoms, for the land had committed great whoredom. So it's pretty much the same thing as the New King James. Same thing, wife of whoredom and children of whoredom. So what does that mean, harlotry or whoredom? When it says children of whoredom, what does that mean?
To me, it means the children of whoredom is that these parents was actually fornicating with different men and having children with different men. Somewhere along the line, this is how I look at it.
Thank you. Who is this brother?
Brother Pantin.
Brother Pantin, thank you very much. That's it. Yes. So that's what people don't understand in this story. But the answer is right there. So it tells you that he was told to go take a wife of harlotry. She's a prostitute, and have children. Go take yourself a wife of harlotry and children of harlotry. Okay, let me ask you something. If Hosea married this woman, which he did, listen, this is not a metaphor. Hosea took this woman. Hosea stayed with this woman. So it's not a parable. It happened. The question is this. If Hosea was the one impregnating her, and she's having these children, why will they be called children of harlotry? If Hosea was impregnating her if Hosea impregnated her to have the first child, why is that child being called children of harlotry? It will not make any sense. Because Hosea married her, impregnated her, she became pregnant. How can that child be called children of harlotry? The only way that child could be called a child of harlotry, or the only way those children will be called children of harlotry, is because they were being born in harlotry. Just like the brother answered. And that is the answer I wanted to give you. But I wanted to ask you as a question to see if any of you will understand it. So what does that mean? Yeah, Hosea took that woman. He stayed in his house, but he was also she was also still working. She was out working her job and getting pregnant by those men and having those children, which goes back to the point of the whole point that the Most High was trying to make. I own you. I am your husband, and yet you are fornicating with other gods. That's the whole point. Does that make sense? Do you get it? So if I had told you that Hosea was not having sex with this woman, you may not get it. You may not understand what I'm saying. That's why he says they are children of harlotry. Children of harlotry. The only way they can become children of harlotry is because Hosea was not the father, but they're living in his house as his children, even though they were conceived in harlotry. If Hosea was getting
So
on top of her and impregnating her, they cannot be children of harlotry. It was because they were born by other men. That's really that simple. Do you get it? Do you guys understand it?
yes, I understand it. So in other words, he used Hosea as an example
Yes.
to
Yes.
what Israel was doing unto him.
Yes. That's it. So if you think about it, then Hosea was not polluting himself with a prostitute. Hosea was not laying with her. Hosea brought her and married her. She was being a harlot. She was having children out of with all these other men. That is the only reason why you will call these children of harlotry, because they were conceived in harlotry. They would not be conceived in harlotry if her husband was laying with her and impregnating her and she's having them, and then you turn around and call them children of harlotry. On what ground?
Right.
How can they be children of harlotry if they were being born by her husband? They will be called children of harlotry if their father is outside. If their father was not her husband, that makes them a children of harlotry. A children that was gotten through harlotry, through prostitution. That's how she became pregnant. So if you understand this, then you see that Hosea was clean. Hosea was not defiled by this woman. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. This was never explained in my former churches like this here. So really, I have gotten my eyes and my heart to be open to this.
Absolutely. So it's something that do come up. It comes up. People will bring it up. I think that the brother that brought it up right now, this is a very good time to bring it up because we want to make sure that there's no contradictions or whatever. I could have given you an answer. You see, I could have told you, well, God is God, and God can do whatever He wants to do. He can tell people to do this and do that. Well, there's a place in the book of Sirach that says that the Most High has not asked anybody to sin. The Most High do not ask, He doesn't ask people to sin. So it's all about our understanding sometimes. Sometimes we don't understand it and it just confuses us. So what happened here was that this man went and married this woman. But if Hosea marries this woman, right? Think about this. If Hosea marries her, then she stops being a prostitute. And then they start living together. She's no longer a prostitute. Then that doesn't make any sense in the sense of what the Most High is trying to do. The Most High is trying to make a point. The Most High was trying to make a point. So if Hosea marries her and she repents and she's no longer a prostitute and she is now having children by him only through him, then those children cannot be called children of whoredom because their mother is no longer a prostitute. But if she is having children and those children are being called the children of whoredom or children of harlotry, that means that she continued doing what she was doing. She continued being a prostitute, and those children was also conceived in the process of her prostitution. So Hosea was not the father. Hosea was not having sex with her. Those children are not her children. Yeah. Okay. So that's basically what happened there. Just like the Most High told us, they have corrupted themselves. They are not his children. Deuteronomy 32. Deuteronomy 32. Right there. It's right there. Deuteronomy 32. You see it. It talks about how we are no longer his children. I'm not the one that wrote that, and I'm glad. I'm thankful that that scripture came right now. Look at Deuteronomy 32. Deuteronomy 32. Look at this. This is what the Most High says in the book of the law concerning the Israelite. I will find it. It's right here. We'll get to it. But I just want to show you this real quick. I want to show you this real quick. If not, then we'll move on. So this is what the Most High says in the book of Deuteronomy about the Israelite. It says in verse 19, and you can read the whole chapter when you get a chance. When you get a chance, you read the whole chapter. It says, and when Yahweh saw it, he spurned them because of the provocation of his sons and his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end will be. For they are a perverse generation, children in whom is no faith. They have provoked me to jealousy by what is not Elohim. They have moved me to anger by their foolish idols. I will provoke them to jealousy by those who are not a nation. And that's where the so-called Jews came into the question. Because if you look at the so-called Jews, the Most High is the one that chose them to pretend to be us. So the Most High chose the so-called Jews. He is the one that chose them. The Most High chose them. The Most High chose the so-called Jews to make us jealous. So here we are, having these people who clearly have no link to the ancient Israelites. And even their rabbi, some of their rabbi will tell you this. They have no link to the ancient Israelites. And here they are claiming to be us. So when we see certain things that we see about the so-called Jews, it will make you it will do nothing to you but make you jealous. Here we go. Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 5. Look at this. They have corrupted themselves. They are not his children because of their blemish. A perverse and crooked generation. Do thou deal with Yahweh? O foolish and unwise people. Is he not your father whom bought you? Has he not made you and established you? So this is the Most High talking to the Israelites. And you can clearly see here where he says in verse 5 that they are no longer his children. They are not his children. And elsewhere, he talked about the people who are said that they are not his people, but later on they will be called his people. So I'm using this here in Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy 32 verse 5 to also show you the link between this and the book of Hosea, where the Most High is looking at the idol worshiping that we're doing, our corruption, our wickedness, our lawlessness, our perverseness. He looked at all this and said, no, these are not my children. They are not my children. Just like Hosea would say that, no, they are not my children. They are known as children of Hosea. You thought that those children was Hosea's until today, right? Just like us. We are thought to be children of Israel. But the Most High is like, no, they are wicked, they're this, they're that. I don't like what they're doing. They are not my people. You see the link between this and the book of Hosea? All right, I'm going to come back to Hosea. Does anybody have any question before we close this in the book of Hosea and go back to the brother and close the whole question as a whole? Any brother, the brother of the book of Hosea, do you get it? Do you understand the book of Hosea that we went through right now?
my brother. Yes, my.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All praises to the Most High. Does anyone else have any question regarding to the book of Hosea, marrying a prostitute? He wasn't having sex with that woman. He was not. He was not having sex with her. Those children are not his. If they are his, then they will not be called children of whoredom. That makes no sense. If he was having sex with her and having those children, they will not be called children of whoredom. She was living with him, but she was still working as a prostitute and getting pregnant. That's why they're called children of whoredom, because those children was born out of whoredom. All right. Does anybody have any question regarding the book of Hosea before we go back to the other question and then close? All right, so all praises to our Heavenly Father. I thank the Most High for His love and His kindness. Brother, I'm going to come back to you, Brother Larry, to continue or to see where we are on your on your question that we're still dealing with right
On
now.
the concubine.
Okay, concubine. So let's get into the concubine side of this. We're going to close this because we've already we're going to stop the recording and then we'll continue like a part 2, and then we'll get into the solution. Can you fix this by a concubine? Is it possible to fix this through a concubine? Let's find out. But first, we will basically close this part and then start a new part.
Thank you for your interest in this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us through WhatsApp. You can call us or send us a message. You can also email us at lawstogod@gmail.com. Check out our website at www.lawstogodskingdom.com. Download our mobile app from the Android store. Search for Laws to God app. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for Laws to God. Don't forget, you can also use Skype to call us. Just download Skype on your phone and search for Laws to God. If you are in South Africa and you need a congregation to worship with, give us a call. For more information that we don't have here on YouTube, please download our app and check out our website, www.lawstogodskingdom.com. Help us spread this truth by sharing this video on your social media.